Hi everybody, this is Jo Fairley of the Perfume Society, and I'm really thrilled that we've got another one in our series of Perfumer Live Q&As. And today we have Maïa Lernout. Maïa is a senior perfumer at Takasago, which is a fragrance house that works across the... Here she comes. Okay. She's coming any second, hopefully. And then we'll see if my head's in the right place because I feel like I'm too low. Here she comes. Hooray! I've got a cushion because I am too low.
Yes, trying to adjust as well.
Yeah. Okay. Hello.
How are you?
I'm very good, Maïa. How are you?
I'm very good also. Yes.
Very good. So just to let everybody know, last week there was a launch with Molten Brand of Flora Luminare, the new fragrance, as well as, and we had such a good time talking to Maïa and learning from her about the fragrance and about her work, etc., that we immediately said, can she come on our Instagram live? So you are bienvenue.
Merci.
So for those who aren't familiar with your work, tell us a little bit about your career journey and some of the fragrances that we would know you for.
So about my journey, I've been studying Ezitka in Versailles, like many perfumer did. And I did an apprenticeship. You know, maybe that we have to be part-time in school and part-time in the company. And so I did mine in Robertet, in Grasse.
Okay. And they are a fragrance supply house that is very famous for naturals.
Yes, exactly. They were very famous for naturals, and I really loved that. I mean, it was 2 years. And then I've been working few years for another Japanese company as a junior perfumer. And then I joined a natural producer, which is quite unexpected for creative perfumers, for almost more than 5 years. Bioland, yeah. So I was working in Southwest.
We'll talk a little bit about natural perfumes later on. Then that's great. So then you went to Takasago, and I believe that you early on you were working alongside our friend Francis Curchon.
Yes, I joined 10 years ago Takasago, and we met we met 10 years ago when I joined. And we met because of my expertise of naturals and because he knew about my previous job, completely dedicated to the development of naturals. And so we started to talk about this and our passion about the naturals. And then when we smelled together, we discovered that we have very similar taste. Then so on, we started to work a little bit on. At the beginning, it was because he was just trying to set his brand, and so he needs someone to support his work when he was traveling or everything. So I worked a lot with him. We shared the office for years. We were roommates, if I can say. And well, now he's more completely dedicated to, and unfortunately, since I think maybe two months or 3 months, we are not sharing because he has his own lab and office in his building now.
Yes. So, but you still obviously still friends, and it's interesting that you were, because one of the obviously the signature of Flora Luminare just one of your creations, but you know, we were discussing at the Perfume Society how it has a very solar quality, and a lot of the fragrances that Francis has worked on, particularly for Elie Saab, I think, almost pioneered that kind of solar character. So how do you get sunshine in a bottle?
Yes, well, it's one of my obsessions. And I'm very obsessed with the fluidity and the light in a fragrance. And what I like to explain is, to have the light in a fragrance, you need also two shadows to enhance this light, a little bit like in a painting. If you don't add shadows, it will seem fake. And so for me, of course, you have some very bright naturals you can use, but I always add a little bit of, I'm sorry, I have my cat with me, and I am at home, so the animals with me. And
That's okay.
yeah, and so I always add some darker stain in the fragrance, little dark stain, like a hint of immortelle or cestus, or maybe very slightly touch of patchouli. It's giving this effect of shadow, and so it will enhance the light.
Yeah, I'd never thought about it that way. I thought about just bringing in the light, but actually you're absolutely right. If you have no contrast, it would be boring. So do you have particular materials that you really are drawn to and love to work with? You've not got a great signal at the moment. Can you hear me?
It's very hard for me to answer that question because it's like
so you don't have particular favorite ingredients that you like to work with?
Be like mandarin, jasmine, rose, but just pick one. It's too difficult because I love so much many naturals, especially of course many naturals. I love also cistus, and there is one Timur. It's a recent crush I had. It's Timur.
Okay, I don't think what does it smell like?
It is a pepper, kind of a pepper. And it smells, sorry, maybe I have to move my phone because, do you have some noise? It's okay?
No, but it's very fuzzy picture. That's better. Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
So it's a paper and it smells a bit grapefruit. And so it's peppery and citrusy in the same time.
Okay. And so does that lift a fragrance?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
If we just rewind a bit before you even became a perfumer, you come from an artistic family, I gather, and also you are an artist yourself. You like to do watercolors.
I'm trying. I'm not like my mother, but I'm trying.
So you know, we've seen some of the paintings that you've created, and they're watercolors. They're very kind of simple, etc. Do you feel that there is a link between that and your perfumery work, or is it for you? Are all the senses and the creative arts linked, or do you put perfumery in a kind of work pigeonhole and art in a life pigeonhole?
I think in a sort of way, my sensitivity as you can see in the watercolors. You can find it also in my fragrances. I like what is simple and with pure style, not messy work, not too much complex, sophisticated, but not too much complex. So I guess, yes, you can find some similitude or comparison between also maybe the color I like, or maybe the furniture I will like, and the way I'm creating fragrances.
Okay. Now I'm just going to do something on my end just to see. Oh, great. No, not changed, but anyway, I think the signal your end is maybe not so great. If we go back again, you came from this artistic family. How did you decide, or when did you decide that you wanted to be a perfumer? And did you have a very good nose as a child?
I don't, but I have, there is a story in my family that I was like a few months old, and my parents were living in Paris, and they went out to the city to walk in the forest. And when we went out to the car, I clearly expressed my satisfaction to be in the forest with like a very true baby sound. And my mother used to say that it's because it was the smell. And so okay. I don't know if I have such a good nose, but I've been always sensitive to all the smells. Maybe also because she put me the attention to that, like, oh, smell that, it's beautiful, and the flowers, and it's part of the education also, like the taste, I think. So I didn't have so much skills, I think, because it is a training. But then I discovered the book, you know, the perfume, le parfum, from Skin. And this is that book. I don't know
how so many perfumers have become perfumers because of that book.
Yeah, I know. And I was 13 years old at that time. Yeah, and my father thought, this book is awful. You cannot read this book at this age because it is a thriller. But I think it's because of the word description, olfactive description, as wonderful in this book. Not the end of the book because it's very dramatic, but the description are really, really wonderful, amazing. And then also I saw a documentary on TV, and at that time in the 19th, it was not so, I mean, the perfumers were not so mediatized, so it was really rare to see about, so, I mean, to have some information about this job. And so I realized that it was not just a skill you have or you haven't, or you are from the family of a perfumer's family, but it's something you can be trained for, and that some school exists. So I thought, yes, this is what I'm going to do.
And were you scientific at school? Were you good at science? Because that is, ISIPCA is very science focused.
Yes, I was good at science. I mean, I both love literature and science. I loved also philosophy and this more, I mean, yeah, literary skills, but I did the both. I have to study chemistry, so I did that option. I took that option, sorry.
Mm-hmm. And so did you love being at ISIPCA? Was it everything you hoped?
Most of the time. I mean, we had a wonderful teacher for olfaction and evaluation. I loved her. And it was really nice to start from, I think, the second month you can start in a company and to discover the world. I did one internship before the school, only one, because it was so difficult to get an internship. Even at that time, 20 years ago, it was already very difficult. But I mean, of course, some classes I didn't like at school, like in every school, and some I prefer others. But yes, it was what I have expected.
Now, in your presentation for Molten Brown last week, you talked about shapes and
Yes.
about different and how they relate to the smells. And so, can you please explain what shapes are to you, and you know how they relate to perfume in your life?
Well, I think it's easy to understand that some very lifty or sharp smell. I can picture them like very vertical, more vertical, and maybe like mandarin or olive because they're very lifty, and others maybe like sandalwood. I see it's more rounded, like a malleable material that you can shape as you want. And other one maybe like musk, like more like a cloud or something very smooth.
So, do you see these in your head when you're creating?
Yes, yeah. Like, and sometimes it helps me to improve the fragrance, because if you use too many round fragrances, they will not have vibration. I mean, you need contrast in the shape, in the light and in the dark, in the color, because the contrast helps to enhance some facets. Because if everything is blue, you don't see anything.
At the end, absolutely. I'm going to think about fragrance in a different way now, but presumably what you want at the end is something that is whole and round, that all the shapes become this kind of perfect sphere. Or do you want pointy bits and sharp bits? And
yes, it depends of the project, of the original idea, but it could be the boss. Sometimes ending, as you said, something pointing to catch, to easily catch, and sometimes we need something really rounded, like in a ball or in a circle. It depends really of the idea of the project.
Yeah. Now, you were talking in the call about working with Molten Brown and about something very interesting, which is that they don't do focus groups. So as a perfumer, presumably you are used to creating a fragrance and then for it going to consumer testing, and then you get the feedback and you have to change it. What's the difference for you between not having consumer testing and having your creation go out and come back and maybe have to be modified? I mean, it as a perfumer, what are the two different experiences like?
For sure, at the end, the fragrance is more rounded with the consumer testing. Because what we do to make a fragrance more fitting the market, when it has to be run in a test, in a consumer test, we have to add some keys or market codes in the fragrance. And if we can use it, because it's not depending on us, it's depending on the marketing team from the brand. But if we can use it sparingly, it means that some brands do it smartly that they just want some keys and some codes, but they want at the end that we can smell the original creative intent. But sometimes it's too much, and sometimes we have to add too much codes and we cannot recognize the idea, the original idea at the end. Even sometimes when you read the description of a new launch, and it is written, I don't know, that the idea was maybe honey cake or something like that. And you cannot smell the honey facet inside. It doesn't mean anything because it's completely, I mean, the consumer testing flattens all the creative facet.
So you're trying to, what happens at the end is you get something that most people quite like, but when you have more freedom, you get something that people love or hate, maybe. You know, it's much more individual, and I imagine you're allowed to be a bit more daring.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we talk a little bit about the beautiful Flora Luminare. What was the idea behind that? I mean, again, you know, Molten Brown doesn't try to produce one thing that everybody will love. There are many different fragrances in the portfolio that, you know, so everyone can find something that they do love, but you're not expected to like every one. So what was the idea? Did the name come first, or what was the concept?
Oh, actually, my name was Sunshine of Flora.
Sunshine.
Sunshine. So the idea was
that
really
was your code name.
Yeah, the idea was really the light, thanks to these white flowers coming from paradisiac island, and like you can escape thanks to the fragrance and to the smell of these opulent and gorgeous flowers. And I'm always been in love with white flowers, so I think for me it's like the playground to work in on floral. And then about the name, it was an idea from the team, but I really loved it because I think Sunshine was not possible. I don't know why, I don't remember why, but they really wanted my input and my thinking about that, which is really rare. You never see that in other brand. And so they asked me, what do you think about this name? And I said, it's perfect. It's completely sweet, the fragrance. It's exactly what I mean. So I'm okay. So that's it.
We smelled some of the elements, some of the different notes in Flora Luminare, and the one that particularly struck me was Ilang Ilang, which is in the fragrance. And it was, you know, often when I've smelt, I said to you during the call, often when I've smelt Ilang Ilang, it's very medicinal. It's quite sharp, and yet this was so soft and so beautiful. Tell us about using and finding this particular quality of Ilang Ilang.
Yes, so I know this quality from years because of my past in the natural producer. Because when I was working for them, I offered it many times to perfumers. And so this quality is different because traditionally in perfumery, perfumers use fraction ylang ylang oil. And so we have two fractions, like in 4 fractions, the extra, the first, the second, and the third. And traditionally, like the extra and the first are used for fine fragrances, but then the producer, they have difficulties to sell the second and the third fraction. so it is not very fair for the local producer. And so this one, the quality I've used is what we call a complete oil. So it means we run the distillation, all the distillation without any fraction. And so it's using less firewood as well. So it is also more ecological. Sorry?
So how is firewood used? Is it the firewood is to heat the oil?
Yes, not to heat the water for the distillation.
To heat the water. Okay.
Yeah, and also they use wood from plantation, not from wild forest. And before this quality was used, especially for aromatherapy, but the smell is very different from the extra and the first. And because the smell was so different, perfumers were not used to that kind of quality, and they were a little bit afraid to use it. When I jumped at Casago, I talked about that quality to Francis at first. And so he said, yes, we have to use it to enter this new code, because it's always very open to use new raw materials. And so now most of the perfumers use it. And as you said, the smell is also very interesting.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I don't always love Ylang Ylang, but I love this one. And I suppose this leads on to a question about supply and about ingredients and about the environment and about the impact of perfume. Do you feel, particularly after these last few months, that moving forward, the perfume world will be looking to have less of an impact on the planet and look at finding different ways of using, as you say, the whole plant and just doing a more considered way?
Well, I really hope so. This is my beliefs. And I really believe in green chemistry as well. I'm trying another way. I really believe in green chemistry, which is made from pine derivatives. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah, most of the chemicals are synthesized from petrochemistry. There are some few chemicals that you can synthesize thanks to the pine derivatives. So it's a big improvement, but we have to go forward and to go faster, because all the actors of the industry have a huge responsibility in that. And as you said, during the lockdown, we realized that without cars, we can have a pure air, we can hear the birds. So I hope also the brands will move a little bit the way they work, maybe less travels, maybe more remote meetings, like in the fashion. And I've seen some, sorry.
No, I was going to say, so your work during this time, how have you been working? About the difference now, because presumably your office is in Paris.
Yes.
And now you're at home. So where is home?
My home? You mean my home? Yes.
Yeah, in Paris?
I am outside Paris. I live in the suburbs.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I can create from anywhere. If I have a computer, I can send my formula in the lab on the robot. So basically, I can send a formula from any places, but then I have to smell what I've done. So I had some deliveries from the lab some days, so I could smell what I have done. But for sure, we need people in the lab.
Yeah. And so the lab has still been working.
Partly, like with very, partly a few people, and of course, I mean, the amount of work was really, really less than before because we don't have so much people in the lab. So because there have to be a few to not be close to each other, and so it's very strict rules.
Yeah. And actually, I was talking to a perfumer who said that one of the things that has happened is, you know, whereas maybe there would be 100 modifications of a fragrance, now it's much more considered. It's like we're going to do, you know, it might be 3 modifications, because there just isn't the time to do all that kind of to and fro, the back and forth. Have you found that?
Yeah, I agree, but I completely agree. Sorry. I completely agree with what the perfumers told you, but I'm quite used to that because, you know, there are 2 kinds of perfumers. Some, they need to make many trials, and I am of the one, I'm thinking a lot, but I'm doing less trials.
Yeah.
So I'm taking more time. I mean, I need more time to think about my next trials, but maybe I do 3 or 4 trials on each round, not 10 or 20 like some others. But it's just different way to work.
Yeah. And maybe the same with Francis. You know, he says he thinks about it, and then at the end, it's much easier. You know, he doesn't need to keep smelling things.
Yeah,
did you get that
working
from
the same
with him?
yeah, exactly.
So if we go back to creating, for you, how important is a story? I mean, Flora Luminare, you were allowed the freedom to create something beautiful. You called it sunshine. The idea was that it would be filled with light. But when you're creating for many brands, how important is the story of the fragrance for you?
It's everything. Yeah, because I think if you just try to blend some ingredients together without understanding that the link between the raw materials, without a clear story, I think it will miss harmony and meanings. And then I think the consumer will not understand what is the purpose of your fragrance. But I do smell some messy fragrances on the market sometimes, and I don't understand what they are smelling.
Messy. I know what you mean by messy. Yeah. It's so for you, it's like a frame.
Yeah, a frame, or maybe like a movie also. I often compare to movie makers. You need a screenplay, because without a screenplay you cannot make a movie.
Okay, so it's your screenplay for sure. Now a question from Stefan Matthews, who is one of our followers and occasionally contributes to the magazine. If you could have created any fragrance by another perfumer, what would it be and why?
One that I really love is Diorissimo. I mean, the perfumer is dead now, but I love this fragrance because the formula is so short, and it's a low dosage, but it's very strong and long lasting. And also it was my grandmother's fragrance, so I love this fragrance so much. And it is very simple, beautiful but simple.
And another question is, what was, so when you start a fragrance, you must have like a eureka moment where the idea comes to you. What memories do you have of the moment when you thought, yes, that's what I need to do? I mean, how do you get yourself in that headspace where the eureka moment comes?
Yeah. I don't have such clear moment because it's very difficult to have distance with your own work. But I have some moments when I can say I'm very happy because I could translate exactly the way I wanted the idea I had. So I am truly satisfied of what I've done, even if it's not chosen then by the customer, but I believe in that idea and I'm satisfied just by the way I did it. And so I remember once, as an example, I have this memory from holiday summer in Greece with my parents as a child. And I remember the smell because there was a fig tree just in front of a monastery. It's like a church with, this very white church in Greece. And there was a smell of incense blending with the smell of the fig trees. And I don't remember why I could smell this. Maybe my mother told me, smell they smell it, it's wonderful, or something like that. But I remember this. And so I tried. I thought it was a good combination, a beautiful combination. And the way I wanted to do it, I could manage to do exactly the way I wanted. But I mean, for now, the fragrance is not on the market. But even if it's not, I love that idea and I'm just satisfied by the way I did it.
So how much of your time is spent on, so in a day, you obviously have projects that you're working on.
Yeah.
I mean, how many projects are you working on at the moment?
It depends of the time. Of course, outside the economic crisis, because for now, a lot of projects are, I mean, how can I say? Yeah, rescheduled. I mean, not cancelled, but rescheduled. But in a normal situation, I could have 10 to 20 projects. I mean, it depends. So some are very small projects. I can have 10 projects, but like 8 are small and 2 are really big ones. It doesn't mean anything for me, the number of the project, because some you can work very quick and other ones you need most of your time dedicated to this project. So it depends.
And are you also working on your own accords and your own blends and your own little like pieces of fragrance, of a fragrance that you can then use as a building block in future? So how much of your day is spent on your own work?
Well, it's when I have time, and we have some proactive work, as we called, and we have some moment our internal marketing ask us to take the time to, because otherwise we're always running for the project and we don't take this time. And
yeah,
sometimes I don't want, because I say I don't have enough time to work on proactive ideas, but then when I am in, I'm very happy to do it. And so these proactive ideas, I'm not using them as a block, as you say, that I can include, because I'm not working like that. I'm not working with a sub-formula, but it will be a starting point. It could be a starting point.
Sure.
And maybe it's...
And after...
Sorry.
Go on.
No, I would say maybe 10 to 20% of 10% of our time, not so much. 10 or 20% of our time.
Not so much, no. And is that something you can still do now you're working at home, or is that a bit harder because you don't have access in the same way to the materials and to an assistant?
Well, I can't imagine new ideas, but then I need to be blended to smell the idea. And for now, the proactive idea are not the priority because of the number of people allowed to work in the lab. So, I mean, I have some ideas. I can write them and keep them for the next period we will be able to work like before.
How else do you think the world, the perfume world, is going to change after this experience? I mean, do you think for you will go back into an office every day? Do you think you will do as much traveling? Do you see it being kind of normal again, or what would you like to see differently from this experience?
Well, I am already going back to the office, but just twice a week, not every day. I think I would hope more remote work. Yeah, like maybe less traveling. I mean, I love the travels, but sometimes it's too much, like in the fashion as well. And maybe also more digital experience, but because we need human contacts, we need experiment to be in contact with not only the press but also the consumers. And that's what I love the pop-up store last year from Molten Bone. But maybe because of this experience, we'll have more digital selling, and maybe some occasion, because I did have some yoga session and meditation session during the lockdown, and it was amazing. I really felt like the teacher was dedicating to me. So we could have this kind of master class as well, and you really have the sensation that the person is talking to you, and because of the comments you can see also other people's interact. So maybe this kind of experience I would like, maybe we will continue this way a little bit more sometimes. And
I think the hard thing is, when you're with people, ideas bounce. It's like an energy. You kind of feed off the energy of other people, and that's when you get your ideas and inspiration. I mean, certainly for us as media, which doesn't seem to happen through a screen. It's very good. Screens are great for all the kind of the day-to-day, the things we have to discuss, but not so much for kind of, oh, I've had this great idea, or yeah, that's brilliant. It's do you find the same?
I can feel the energy through the screen, even through the screen. Yeah, this is what I was telling about the meditation session I followed. I mean, of course, it's not easier because of some technical issue. I agree with you, and it's not exactly the same. to be closer to people. You can see if they are comfortable or not. If you can ask some, like for you, for media, if you can ask more questions. I completely understand it's not easy, but I really enjoy this experience, and I hope that we can maybe have more, because sometimes brands, they hesitate because of the cost. Maybe we cannot do this launch, but maybe we has experience with for Boston brand this Zoom meeting to talk about the fragrance, and maybe sometimes we can try also. It will be an option now that we can do this way.
And I think everybody wants to not spend so much traveling time going to and from the office every day, which is just time lost.
Yes.
Everyone's going to want to work. When you're working, do you ever wear any other fragrances? Do you wear your own fragrances when you're working? Or do you sometimes have a day when you wear something else?
When I'm working, I don't wear fragrances, but I wear because I can smell me. But in the weekend, or I wear on holidays. I'm wearing. Sorry.
Are they
Go
your
ahead.
fragrances or are they other people's fragrances?
They are mine, but I think because it's not because I just want to wear mine fragrances. I think it's because if I'm wearing fragrances from someone else, my mind is always working, trying to focus on each ingredient, understand the formula. So it's not a rest for me. It's not pleasant. It's like I'm still working. My mind is, and it's a bit exhausting. So usually I'm wearing a very, very simple fresh orange blossom muskinot, but very simple. So it's just the pleasure to wear something nice and fresh. I'm wearing also sometimes a lavender note around. I mean, I love lavender. And lavender with sage and tonka, but it's fresh and long lasting. So I'm between these two, and sometimes another one, which is very clean and ambery in the same times, but ambery like ambroxan, but very clean also. So I'm moving between the three, like depending on my mood, but it's really just. They all are very simple, just to quiet my mind, like the basic line for me, you know.
Yeah. And how does it feel if you get on the metro and you smell something that you made?
Oh, I'm very, very proud. I'm so happy. I want to talk to the person, like, what do you like it? I have to contain myself. No, you cannot do that.
So you never do say, oh, by the way, I made your perfume.
No, I never did it, but maybe it's too much presumptuous, but I would love to ask, what do you like in that perfume?
Yeah, of course. No, I think that it must feel great. If we talk a little bit about, you've got lots of books behind you.
My language.
Another question from Stefan. What fictional character do you most associate with? So if you see yourself in a book, who is the person?
I do love feminine, strong character from Victorian novels. So I really love Jane Eyre. It's I read it many times. I love her. I mean, I love the conflict emotion, her true temper, the way. But she's trying to contain herself, but she's too much. She's too passionate and too much passion, and she has to express. But as a teenager, I also had a crush on Jo Matt from Little Woman. Yeah, I really wanted to be her.
That's who I was named after. So my mother loved that book. So I was named after Jo March, and I couldn't be happier.
Really?
I think, yeah. So she's the most wonderful fiction actor.
Yeah,
do you ever think when you're reading? I mean, do you ever think what perfume you would make? You assign them a perfume. So it's like, what would Jo March wear?
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, I think something quite rough, because she's not so much. I mean, she's not sophisticated, but she loves nature, and maybe something with the ink also, because she has some ink on her hands. Yeah, it's a good idea. I would have to think about it.
And what would Jane Eyre wear?
Maybe more delicate, because at the beginning she's more shy. She's trying to be like everybody, but she's different, obviously. So maybe more something like powdery musky, but with a strong bottom note, like a depth woody note, like something at the beginning powdery delicacy, but at the bottom it's really strong, because she's strong and independent.
I just invented a new game.
Yes, for sure.
I'm gonna be playing this all afternoon, I think. So when you came to, I know you came to London for the Molton Brown pop-up. It's a very, kind of revolutionary concept. It's very personal driven. It's very it's a new way of consultation. Is there anything that you think after this experience is going to change about how perfume is sold, and how customers can identify what they want to buy? Because stores are going to be different for a while.
Yeah. For sure. I think we will still need this kind of immersive, as you say, situation, but I know that many brands are working right now on another way to sell perfumes, more digitally, but also to be able to experiment maybe more bespoke experience to the consumer, that like you can ask for an appointment with an expert dedicated to yourself. So maybe it will be less. I mean, of course, Molton Brown was not in this kind of distribution, but the big, huge store of perfume, I think it's going to be difficult, because, of course, you cannot welcome so many people in the same stores. What I hope is that we're going to do, like they are doing in fashion, like a slow perfumery, maybe, to produce less but better quality, but still with a profitable balance, of course, because many jobs are involved. But it could be very interesting to think about another way.
Yeah, I mean, we feel like we have a fantastic opportunity to kind of reinvent the world. Actually.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
If we don't take this opportunity, we will regret it forever. Because I think, so. Things like this, we hope, only happen once, and it's just given people the time to think differently. I believe.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thing? There's a question from me. When we're free to travel again, we're free to do whatever we like again, what's the thing that you most want to do?
The place I want to discover, you mean?
Place,
Yes.
maybe a place, yeah, or just a thing you want to do. But a place is good. Let's start with the place.
Yeah. I think I would like, because I'm very interested to discover Northern Europe. I've been a lot in Mediterranean countries. I love Greece and Italy, but I've never been in Sweden, Norway, or Iceland. I really want to discover these countries if I can. Or even Scotland. Even Scotland. I've never been in Scotland, so I would really like to discover.
To go. It's the most. We're very lucky to have it not so far away.
Yeah.
No airplane needed, but
yeah, sure. Oh, you know, airplane needed.
Yeah. Is landscape important to you? Actually, do you get ideas from places?
Yes, for sure. Sometimes, like, I mean, the landscape and the places are connected with the smell. So I have a lot of inspiration from the places I've grown up from my childhood. Like, for example, the lavender, it's because of my grandmother's house. Okay. And yeah, because she had a very antique baptismal font and she put dried flowers of lavender inside. And as a child, I was like washing my hands in the flowers every time I was passing ahead the font. Like, you know, a magic rituals. I thought it will bring me some magic power to... So I am really connected this smell of lavender with the summer holidays, with the feeling of freedom during the holidays as a kid. So every moment, every places are always connected with smell, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, we could probably talk all afternoon.
Yeah.
But we really look forward to your next visit to London.
Yes, yes, I hope so.
You know, the screen isn't quite the same. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the next few months.
Yes, thank you.
Normal. Anyway, au revoir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.